We'll kick things off by a couple notes. One, this meeting is being recorded, so feel free to leave your camera on or off. That's your choice. And then number two, this meeting does fall under the CNCF Code of Conduct, so please take a chance to go and read that if you haven't, and just be aware of that, and please be kind to everyone. And yeah, we'll first take a moment here to welcome any new members to this meeting, and if anyone would like to pop off mute and say hello and introduce yourselves, you're very welcome to do that. Now's a good time.
I think Severin doesn't know everybody here, so probably just introduce everybody.
Yeah, I know some of you from Slacks or random meetings at KubeCon. Yeah, hi, I'm Severin. I'm part of the Open Telemetry Governance Committee, and I'm also one of the people that recently kicked off what we dare also call the Contributor Experience SIG. And I thought, like, yeah, I check by, just say hi. Curious to see how we can collaborate. Outside the OTel stuff, I'm based out of Germany. I work at Cisco in the open source program office. Yeah.
Welcome. Well, glad to have you here. I was out in NYC with some of your team earlier last week.
Yeah, they mentioned it. Yeah.
Before I was stranded in New York. Yeah.
I got home safely, so my flight was not impacted by any outages, so that was really good.
Lucky you. I was trapped for like 5 days. That was a good time.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Yeah, glad to have you here. Alrighty. Well, with that, let's jump over to Callum and your first agenda item here.
Sure. So basically, I've been involved in mostly the Knative project for the past year and a half now. And now, starting this September, I'll be helping to lead a club at the University of Toronto where there's been a lot of student interest in contributing to open source projects. And it's going to be kind of like, I guess, a sort of semi-structured environment for students to get the support to do that. Sort of like kind of similar to some of the mentorship programs we do, but also not paid. It's just a student club, but there's a lot of student clubs, at least at the University of Toronto, where people just go to like get real hands-on experience. There's a lot of like design teams that do different things, like self-driving cars. Like they made a 200-kilometer-an-hour bike the other year. So they just kind of design experience business, like focused on doing it for open source. And we were thinking about, at least since my experience is based mostly in the Knative community, about having a lot of them work on Knative. But I was just wondering if people knew, like, if other people want, like, you know, some students to help out in their project for a couple hours a week. That would be totally a possibility, but my concern is I can't help them technically there. Because like one of the big challenges is a lot of people want to do open source, but they need some like handholding. If you're a second year student who's only done a couple programming courses, there's a bit of initial handholding needed, and I can only really do that for the Knative project. So I was just hoping to come here, share that we're doing this, and see if anyone has any thoughts about it.
Josh, you know a bit about the LFX program, right? Is there any overlap there, you think?
Well, I mean, one of it obviously would be making sure that the students know about LFX and Google Summer of Code, right? So that they can apply and get some information about that if they're interested. The other thing I was actually sort of thinking is what's really going to work best is other projects that have someone in the Toronto area who could show up in person, right? Because particularly if you're trying to get anything meaningful done in a couple of hours, doing it via remote is not going to be very effective.
Yeah. We trialed it a little bit last year, and we found that like students were often happy to kind of go off and do some stuff on their own throughout the week. But like having kind of an in-person like check in, like what problems are you having, and like sit down for a couple hours and try and work on it really made a big difference. But yeah, like I think the in-person is really the key.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would be a reach out, right? Because we don't know who's in the Toronto area. It's a huge city though. So I would be very surprised if we didn't have a number of other projects that had maintainers in the Toronto area.
Would you have any recommendations on how to do that? Reaching out, like where to ask?
Yeah. I would say maintainer circle. And then also, since both Kubernetes and OTel now have contributor experience groups, reach out to those groups. And you know, they'll have their own way to communicate with their contributors. And make sure that Nate and the mentoring working group are also aware of this thing that you're doing, so that because they get contacts from a lot of sort of random students and people who like working with students. That's how I do it. There is no great way to get in touch with all the projects. It's something that we have struggled with many times. But you can kind of put it out there. I would also say eventually, when you have some project that's been finished, if you follow me from this, it would be cool to maybe have a maintainer circle around working with students and have you present and talk about that.
Yeah, for the Cloud Native University Colo and KubeCon North America, myself and a whole bunch of others submitted a talk around like different ways to engage with students. So we'll see if that goes through as a panel. We got some like different professors. I think Ali from the mentoring group and a little bit about this.
Yeah, another thing to note is Nate from mentoring is also in Canada. He's not in Toronto. I think in Vancouver.
He's Vancouver, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and it's actually more expensive for him to get to Toronto than it is for an American to get there.
Yes, internal flights. So yeah, so be aware he's in your neighborhood, even though it's a couple of thousand miles away.
Yeah. I mean, effectively. Oh, also because the other thing to think about is, people across the border in the U.S. are also potential.
Yeah, like down in Buffalo,
you know,
or New York, right?
Yeah. Anybody where driving across the border is not all that unreasonable, or taking a ferry for that matter. So yeah, Rochester, Buffalo, etc. Where is this? Is University of Toronto?
Yeah, so it's like right downtown near
downtown, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, center downtown.
Yeah. So Detroit would be way far away. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. Yeah. And so it's Chicago, unfortunately, because we have a lot of project people in Chicago. So
Do you have? I'm scratching in my head for the name of there's like a meetup website where you advertise. I think it's actually called Meetup. Let me have a look. Where you advertise meetups and people can come to whatever meetup of or whether it's pottery or any sorts of other interest, and maybe you can do a meetup for. Let's have a look at that. And you can reach out through a meetup thing. People can find you in that way. Yeah, Meetup, that's the thing, meetup.com. We've used it previously with a team that I worked with from New Zealand, and they had a quite good success with people finding them through the Meetup website. So you just clearly have to state what you're all about. Let me drop it in the chat. It's not hard, meetup.com.
I mean, one challenge there would be that meetup.com isn't free.
Yes, you're probably right.
And it's actually a little spendy, which was one of the reasons for the CNCF dropping it. And importantly, the CNCF won't pay for it. So, I mean, obviously, you could mirror your student group on Bevy, but that doesn't really tend to attract new people. Although it would actually
Might
be kind of fun.
Meetup
If you
have
mirrored it on
some
Bevy,
university discounts or something like that? So maybe they have something for
yeah,
student groups.
Yeah, a lot of things have like student discounts, or
Yeah.
you're free as long as you're a student.
I mean, if you're willing to spend, the half an hour to set it up, also having the group on Bevy, since it is after all a group that is working on CNCF projects, wouldn't be bad. Some of our community actually browses Bevy and they might find it.
How do you spell Bevy? I have not heard of this before.
BVY, but we really want is the CNCF's instance of it, which is community.cncf.io. And I don't know what the official way of applying for a new group is. The unofficial way is to reach out to Katie Greenlee on CNCF Slack.
That sounds doable.
So, and the nice thing about that is it's free. Basically, the total expense there would be a half hour of your time plus 10 minutes every time you want to add a new upcoming event. And it might not attract anybody, but you don't really need numbers, right? You need quality, right? You need one or two maintainers from different projects to show up.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to send people from etcd, but I don't think we have anybody in the Toronto area. Like I said, I also want to get out, whether it's a maintainer circle or a blog post or whatever, I want to get this out to the rest of the CNCF as well, not just as a way of attracting people to your individual meetup, but also as an example of things we can do with students that aren't Google Summer of Code.
Yeah, for sure. Once we finish something, I'd be very happy to work with you on how to put that together.
Yeah. Actually, maybe a blog post. A blog post may actually be the best way for CNCF blog, because then that has the sort of dual purpose of explaining this as a thing that projects can do, and at the same time, maybe letting some people who are in the Toronto area know about it.
Yeah, and also letting students in other communities and areas know that this is how you can set this up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for all the ideas, everyone. This is really useful.
Awesome. Severin, did you want to add any more about the open telemetry contributor experience, Sig?
Let me think about it. I added, let's say, our repository. So we are working on, let's say, mostly spinning around some ideas. So I think one thing I'm looking for is hey, what can we learn from others that maybe have done this in the past, right? So, or I think also what we just discussed around those student activities in Toronto, right? I mean, how can maybe we also, so at the end, contributor experience is also a lot around how can we hook into things that exist already? How can we find new avenues to invite new contributors? I mean, the contributor experience, we, let's say, are not only focusing on, let's say, new contributors, right? We also want to make the experience better for existing contributors. So we also think about hey, what can we do for approvers, maintainers, maybe even people that are stepping out, stepping in once again, all those things, right? The whole contributor life cycle. And yeah, I said we just kicked this off, I don't know, last week, 2 weeks ago, and are still, let's say, making first steps. And yeah, I'm eager to hear or to get feedback, to get, let's say, people show up in our repo and look at the things we're doing. And yeah,
Sounds good. Did we want to move to open floor discussion?
Yeah, I'll say to Severin, I have ideas, but I'm going to save them for the meeting on Monday.
Awesome.
The so yeah, yeah, I don't know. I've been still kind of focused on trying to make the governance side of the house self-perpetuating. So I haven't been paying a lot of attention to this. So the oh, actually, one thing for open floor is we did submit. Why am blanking? For signable names,
maintainer track session.
Names. Yeah, the maintainer track session. Destiny's maintainer track session.
Destiny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Which will be about. This is aimed at potential contributors, people new to the CNCF community, about getting started contributing. And it's something even for for Severin and other people is one of the things we run into all the time is CNCF is huge, 180 projects, a lot of them in rapid motion, etc. Somebody shows up, they're allowed to spend some work time, or their students or whatever on hacking projects, but they really have no idea how to get started. And we get this a lot. We get people dropping in our channel, every week saying, I don't know where to start. And we have to lead them down the path of, hey, well, what technology are you interested in? So and then something for individual projects to think about, right, is for brand new contributors, one of the biggest things you can do is have an easy to find place that says how they can get started. Often that's your, contribution.md file, etc. Although if your project is a public web page, having a link from that public web page from the homepage is a really good idea. And also think in terms of the contribution.md file for it to not just be the technical aspects of contributing. Like a lot of projects are like, here's how you submit a PR, here's our test framework, etc., which is information that should be in there, but also some orientation around, hey, if I want to discuss a potential new feature, where do I discuss that? And that's often missing. Are there regular meetings, that are open? Is there a Slack channel that we can chat on? As somebody who's reviewed a lot of projects, sort of paperwork, these are all things that I find that they've accidentally left out. And the biggest thing, obviously, is trying to maintain a rotating list of items that are good for new contributors to work on. And having done that for the Kubernetes project, I do understand how much work that actually ends up being. I need to write this up as an article for us.
I was about to
I don't
say
think we have this in our materials.
I just dropped the one how to get started, but that is from the perspective of the person that want to start, and that what you just mentioned is actually looking just at the same thing, but just from the other side of the room.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm buried under stuff, so probably I would be writing this up later. So maybe, yeah.
I helped with someone else write something, I guess, aimed for contributors on how to get started for Cube by example. So I wouldn't mind doing some work to adapt that if it was helpful for some other context.
Oh, that would be awesome.
It was like a 6-part like learning path on how to like go from a complete beginner to contributing somewhere.
Yeah.
So I don't mind adapting that if there's just a spot for it to go.
Oh, no, that would be terrific. And then obviously the other person involved in this would be Destiny. Right, because she'll have material from her talk. Yeah, that would be cool, and good repurposing of the KBE stuff that's probably going to disappear on us pretty soon otherwise. Okay, let's create a card for that, so that we don't forget about it, since I'm not going to be able to work on it immediately, because I really have a number of high priority items for governance that take precedence.
You want me to make the issue, Josh?
Yeah, well, either you or me.
Okay, if you're on it, do it.
Hold on.
Is that a good transition into board review, or do we have other open discussion items?
I don't think we do.
Let me find the link for the. Oh, you got the project board link. Good. Thanks, Sander.
Yeah, it's in the doc. I would not have found it otherwise.
Oh, there's actually quite a few things on the board which is screaming for somebody to pick it up, but we've been running
Yeah.
all over the tag. We've been running a little short on hands.
Yeah, and we have our own contributor recruitment problem. But as I was explaining in the TOC the other day, the problem basically originates in that our recruitment pool for people for this tag has historically been OSPO staff. And so many companies dramatically reduce the staffing of their OSPOs. And we're pivoting to figuring out ways to get other types of people involved, people who don't work for OSPOs, but it's been a pivot.
Do we want to pull any of these that are under new into the backlog?
Yeah, what we normally do is we look at the things that's on new, ensure that they are valid, and then we just pull them into the backlog. So maybe we discuss them one by one, see if they're a valid thing, and then we just drag them over.
Mm-hmm.
Always a little nice to see an issue from Carolyn.
It's a little strange. It's not in the backlog and it's under new.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of things haven't moved.
Okay, I will drag that one over because it is absolutely still valid.
Okay.
And stick it in the backlog.
Okay.
Yes, Carolyn did make things move forward. She was good. The next new one. The contributor story one is also from Caroline.
Yeah, these two are kind of like the two sides of the same coin.
Yes, yeah. There are.
Hey, Callum, what's your GitHub handle?
I'll put it in the chat so you can just copy and paste.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, as much as I would love to pull some of these backlog ones, I am going to be underwater until after KubeCon, I think.
You got big things
Yeah, I
planned
can't
for
imagine why.
KubeCon?
Yeah. Yeah, my company, it's like the first major event we're actually sponsoring and gonna have a booth at, so it's gonna be a little chaotic.
Hmm.
Just a little.
As
Oh,
opposed
apparently
to
I
be
cannot.
too boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather be busy than bored though, which is like,
Ex-
having been bored at jobs in the past, like that's a little more draining on me.
Yes. Busy is better than boring. But I just dragged them all over, and I think they.
Yeah, by the way, Rian, apparently I can't assign Callum. I guess he has to be a member of Tag Contributor Strategy.
So
Or
what
do I have to
what you can
comment?
do? Yes, just
Yeah.
comment, and then we can assign you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, now that assign should work.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay.
The magic of Git.
So, okay.
Thanks, Josh. Callum, you going to KubeCon?
Hopefully, we'll see if any of my talks get accepted.
Okay. What's your talk on? You said the one is about contributors.
Yeah, that was for the Cloud Native University track, and then we had one about standardizing how like large language models can call out to external tools on Kubernetes for the kind of AI track, and then a very random one in the Knative community. We're making an educational game to teach people how to use some Knative stuff. So one about that too. So we'll see what gets accepted, and hopefully I can make it there.
Hope you get in.
Okay, something weird happened with that card.
Well, we did something with the board, so that's an order view.
Oh, it ended up in blocked. Sorry, I'm gonna do it into assign. There we are.
Why did it get end
Now
up
it's
in
in-
blocked?
I pulled it over from meaning to take it over to
Okay,
backlog,
got it.
and I accidentally
Okay.
dropped it in. But it's actually
Yeah.
assigned, so now it's an assigned.
Yep.
Sorry, my bad.
Okay.
All right. Was there anything else anyone wanted to chat about today, or should we call it a wrap?
I'm good.
Yep.
Thanks for
We can
running
wrap
it,
it up.
Xander.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everyone, and
Yeah.
hope you all have a good rest of your week and a good weekend.
Thank you very much.
You the
Have a good
same.
one.
Bye bye.
Cheers.